I don't have sound. The Helix sounds weird. Something must be broken. Time to throw it away. Wait, you might be doing one or more of these 5 stupid mistakes that I still make to this day. Hello and welcome to the video. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Justin and I'm all about worship guitar, helping you sound and play your best for Jesus. Please consider subscribing, hitting that bell notification button, and treating me to a coffee to support these videos and my ministry. If you've met before, welcome back. We've all had noob moments in our guitar playing careers. I had set up for a dinner and dance gig, had my pedalboard and amp set up, fired up and ready to go, and I had no sound. It was 2 minutes to showtime and I was frantically tweaking every knob, checking every patch connection, and at the last second, I realized what was wrong. I forgot to plug the guitar into the pedalboard. Noob! If you thought getting a giant device like the Helix was going to solve the noob mistakes, think again. Here are my top 5 noob mistakes on the Helix that I still make today. Number 1. Plugging into the aux input. Imagine this scenario. It's a dark stage with limited lighting. It doesn't help that the Helix is clad in gun black metal. I've been too lazy on more than one occasion and simply reached over the front of the Helix instead of peering over the top to check where I'm connected to. Yeah, I can do it by feel. Sure, but it doesn't hurt to spend that extra second to ensure you're in the right guitar connection instead of the aux input, which has a different impedance. Worst of all, you will have some patches that specify guitar input instead of multi. This is how you spot the mistake. You have sound on some patches and not on others. You may also be experiencing an unexpected drop in volume. Check the input block and your guitar cable connection. The guitar cable must be in the guitar in. Number 2. Assigning the wrong output on the output block. This is somewhat related to number 1. Just like how the input block has various options, the output block can specify which ports to send audio through. If you have presets that specify XLR and you're connected to the 1/4 inch outputs, you won't get your guitar signal from the 1/4 inch. How is this a problem? Why are you running your guitar through the 1/4 inch outputs? I'm a music director and I use the Helix to run tracks, my vocals to the front of house, my MD mic to the in-ears, and of course, my guitar. My usual output assignments: vocals to XLR left, MD mic to XLR right, tracks through send 1 and 2, click through send 3 and 4, and finally guitar through 1/4 inch outputs. That's a lot of routing that can go wrong. For example, if you run the output block of your tracks path as multi, you get the fun situation of the tracks bleeding into all other outputs. True story, I've made this mistake for a cues track and everyone in the sanctuary could hear the cues. Thankfully, it was sound checked so I could steal a quick moment to correct the mistake. This is how you spot the mistake. Make sure the sound guy informs you if your guitar output has other sounds bleeding into it. Always have a printout of your output assignments on hand, whether a physical piece of paper or a document on your phone so that you can forward to your sound guy. Number 3. Saving the patch with the volume pedal at 0%. This comes from a habit I adopted from my analog pedalboard days. When you're not playing, the volume pedal must always be 0. True story, I was at a gig, I left the volume pedal at max, left the volume on my guitar at 10, and forgot to put the amps on standby, and walked off stage. Can you imagine my horror when the MC came on, started speaking, and hearing your guitar slowly start to feedback? I might talk about this in an analog pedalboard mistakes video. Comment below if you're keen on one, and share your gear-related horror stories too. Anyway, that's with analog pedals. You can clearly see if the volume pedal is in the toe or heel position. The Helix allows you to save the state of the volume pedal regardless of its physical position. This has periodically caused a few minutes of "why is there no signal?" even as recent as last week. This is how you spot the mistake. You try playing the patch and there's no volume, and when you wiggle the volume pedal, you realize your signal has come back. Put the volume at 100% and save the patch to ensure this problem does not pop up again. Or go from the other direction and save the patch at 0% volume and develop the habit of checking the volume pedal every time you load a new patch. It's all about habits. Number 4, forgetting to save the patch. This is the opposite of the previous mistake. It happens all the time when I'm editing a patch. It's like playing a game and forgetting to save, and then when you die, you have to go all the way back to the last save point and retrace all your steps. To continue the video game analogy, it's helpful to have a 3-slot system when saving patches. Slot 1 is my patch template that I don't touch, and is something I refer to when something goes wrong further down the way. Slot 2 is where I save periodically, like a major save point. Slot 3 is where I primarily work from with editing and tweaking and save sporadically. Once I save in slot 3, I can compare and contrast with slot 2 to see if I made any errors, like loading a mono EQ which mono sums a stereo power. Trust me, I've made this mistake enough times to know that it's not obvious at first when you've been tweaking for an hour. Number 5, forgetting to bring the power cable and USB cable. Last but certainly not least, this one is a major mistake if you're using the Helix for live gigs or leading worship live on a Sunday morning, and even worse if you use the Helix as your Ableton Live interface. I have a video describing how to implement this that you can check out here. Thankfully, the power cable is a very common IEC one that most consumer devices will use, like printers, PC towers, and even the keyboards on stage. So if you have a spare keyboard lying around, or if your church office can spare one from a disused PC, you can still salvage the situation. What's slightly more rare is the USB cable, which is what we commonly call the printer cable. It's the USB Type-B male connector, which came with larger devices like printers and scanners. Unfortunately, with the advent of USB-C and wireless functionality with printers and scanners, this cable is increasingly being phased out. When I forgot to bring this cable to church, I had to borrow the one and only spare that was lying around for the church office printer. So for peace of mind, always have spares of these cables, the IEC power cable and the USB Type-B cable. If you're like me, you have some of these cables lying around from having old printers. Don't throw them away. They're now quite valuable for Helix and HX Stomp users like you and I, and the new ones are expensive and rare on shopping platforms. Which brings us to the question of the day. What Helix horror stories do you have? I'd love to hear what happened in the comment section below and any solutions you had to come up with on the fly. That's it for me. Thanks for watching this video. Head on over to my Buy Me a Coffee page to download my patches and more to support these videos and my ministry. Share this video with someone whom you know needs help and reminders with his Helix or HX Stomp device. Until next time, I'm Justin, and I'm all about worship guitar.